All right. Good morning, everyone. Back outside again on one of those days where we got to get to the gym nice and early. So today is November 11th, I believe. Episode number 18. Back at it again. We'll continue to be back at it again until the foreseeable future. Quick disclaimer. This is a conversation between me and Mike. None of this is supposed to be taken as expert advice, specifically the financial part. Everything that we say here is for entertainment purposes. We should take whatever we say seriously, or we would like to try it out. Take it at your own risk. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Michael. Some of the topics for the day include on the personal development. What does it mean to be a victim or have a victim mindset? On the fitness, what is the difference between pain and soreness? And on finance, when should you buy a car? And some news updates, of course. All right. Without further ado, let's go and jump right into personal development. What does it mean to be a victim, or have a victim mindset? What do you think?
All right. So this one, it can get a little deep, but we'll try to cover the surface and then slowly dive into it. So, victim. What is a victim? In certain circumstances, especially like in a violent circumstance, a victim is somebody that suffers the consequences of somebody else's actions, right? It's like the most general definition I can think of. But there are a lot of circumstances, specifically nowadays, where people take situations that have happened a really long time ago. And obviously, if it was a traumatic event, there's something to that. You kind of just hold on to that, whether that be from a psychological perspective or you hold body trauma because of it. There's something to be said about that, and it's definitely something that needs to be resolved by going to a professional or talking with people in order to get it solved. But there's other situations where it's not that serious. Hypothetically, let's say you break up with a boyfriend, or a boyfriend breaks up with you, or girlfriend breaks up with you. You take that so personally, it becomes a really, how can I say? It's a negative, I guess a negative catalyst for you to kind of just think of the worst things possible and kind of just use that as an excuse to not do stuff moving forward. Or hypothetically, let's say you failed an exam at school, and instead of, just owning up to it, just be like, hey, I didn't study enough, or hey, there were some things here that it just flew right over my head. And maybe if I would have spent the extra 20, 30 minutes the other day studying, I would have gotten it, but I didn't because I wanted to, I don't know, maybe you had to do something, or you were daydreaming, or you went out partying, or whatever the case is. Take that situation, and instead of putting the onus on you and taking responsibility for that action, you decide to blame the outside world. Oh, the teacher doesn't like me, or the material's stupid and it's too difficult, or whatever the case is. You'll find kind of any excuse to kind of not take responsibility and have every problem that comes up in your life be a circumstance of somebody else's actions, not yours.
Right. Yeah, in my opinion, being a victim is someone who thinks the world is against them rather than, you're part of this world, to keep it simple. And I agree with what Randy said about, like maybe something happened in your life and maybe, yeah, it was bad and maybe it affected you in some way, right? It brought pain, like temporary pain at the moment. But the fact that you kind of hold on to the pain and don't move on, then you are becoming the victim of it. You're becoming the victim of that situation, and you cannot move forward. You cannot move on from it, and as a consequence, your life is being affected because of it as well. Because you cannot grow and you cannot, see further, like move on, and yeah, you're always gonna be blaming the world rather than seeing the positive things about it, and also, yeah, I think that covers it in my aspect.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, the whole point of the topic is to kind of just like point a light to it, just like show you what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like you're somebody that's actually doing that, then my suggestion to you would be kind of just sit down and think over whatever the situation is that you think has affected you in a very negative way, and you feel like you're like a victim of the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Not to get too personal, but to get personal. From my perspective, there was this family issue that I had for a long time that I never kind of resolved, and I always kind of blame my parents for it. I always felt like it was their fault for the situation that I'm in. I kind of feel like an outcast because the situation that we're in, and it's their fault. But at the end of the day, I mean, I can look at it from that perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't help me, and it doesn't help them. And I know because they're there, if they never decided to just like abandon me or be bad or not do the right things for me, maybe they made a mistake in the past, and that happens. People make mistakes, um,
Right.
especially if people like are drunk or whatever the case might be. So you kind of just got to take that with a grain of salt. Things happen. What you really should be looking at is what people do afterwards, moving forward. How do they take responsibility for their actions? And that's a big thing, and maybe we can even talk about later on. Taking responsibility for those actions that you do, the good and the bad. But in any case, look at those situations like that where you feel like you're the victim. Try to understand that obviously the world isn't perfect, but not everything is about you. Sometimes things just happen, and it's just a matter of circumstances. And if you can picture yourself in a similar scenario, you'd more than likely do the same. Because I'm of the mind that I don't really think human beings are just evil and cruel by nature. It kind of just ends up happening over time, especially if you're exposed to it for a long time. For a majority of people, they're good, and they try to be good, and sometimes they fail. So again, don't think that the world is against you. It's just a circumstance. You kind of, if you can be prepared for those circumstances, better. Sometimes you're not, and then you kind of get affected by it negatively. Take it with a grain of salt. Learn from that experience if you can. Move on.
Right. One like huge impact that, well, no, huge example that I think I notice in a lot of people, and I feel like a lot of people are gonna relate to it, is that they are victimized, or they think they're a victim of their childhood. I think we talked about this briefly on last week's podcast, that a lot of people think just because the way they were raised or something happened in their childhood, they are, they should act of some way, or it should be some, like, maybe like the type of person that you date that has a huge effect on it, and all that. And I've seen this commonly on girls, just when, like, it's weird, but like, if they don't like getting, let's not go into the topic because I feel like a lot of girls are gonna get offended, but I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I got it. I got
But okay, no. All right, so let's just keep it general. So if you feel like you're the victim of your childhood, and like psychologically, it's true that your childhood has a lot of effect on your adulthood and the way that you think and things that you like. But it's on you now that you are fully conscious. You have full responsibility on your own life to pretty much fix those wrongs and learn and see what you can do to better yourself, rather than just think that you're the victim here and don't do anything. So I
it.
think
Right.
that's
Sure.
one common thing. And another issue too, let's say for some reason in 1 week, this might go for college students, in 1 week, every single professor starts giving you tons of projects and homework. And it's just a fucking coincidence. Don't think the word is against you. Just do your work.
Mhm.
It's a challenge. That happened to me this week. I had a lot of homework, and I'm not feeling good as well, guys. So
Mhm.
I'm not being victimized. I'm still waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, doing my shit, working. It's just a little extra weight, like a little headache and stuff like that. But I'm not giving up on that. I'm not being the victim, like, oh, just because I'm sick, I should get like extended days.
Deadlines and things like that.
Yeah. So, being a victim can be like major thing in your life, like a major aspect, or it can be as a little thing as well. So always try to be conscious about what you're doing and what you're saying as well, because what you say, it becomes your mindset. It goes to your mind and you start believing it. So be careful with that. But yeah, so
One
now.
last thing that I like to point out. So listen, there are situations where like the situation was actually really serious, like it was a really traumatic childhood, maybe a lot of violence or whatever the case might be,
Right.
or abandonment. That's definitely something that could happen. But again, if that's not the situation, then take the same approach. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Understand that human beings are flawed. We're not all perfect, but for a majority of us, we try our best. And if situations end up not going to your liking, again, it's the world isn't against you. It's just kind of a coincidence sometimes. Something that I would like to recommend. You can either get professional help or something that I started reading recently. I don't know if you ever heard of the author called Robert Greene.
No.
So he basically deals with like different aspects of human nature, and he kind of just like dives in really deep into the psychology of it. So one of the books that he has is like the 48 Laws of Power, and it's kind of just going over different aspects of human beings and how they kind of exhibit power or powerlessness in order to control the situation. So that's a pretty interesting read to just kind of see like the dynamics that kind of happen every day, but you don't really think about it. So again, like that victim mindset, that could be a very powerful tool to help you control somebody else. Because if you can make somebody else feel bad about whatever they did to you, now you have power over them.
Yeah, but that's not somewhere that you want to go.
No, obviously not. But sometimes that victim
It's
mentality,
useful.
without you thinking of it, that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's not the outcome that you're looking for. You're just looking for like an apology. But instead, now you're manipulating and controlling a situation, and you can do whatever you want. So yeah,
And
definitely recommend the author Robert Greene and all the books that he has.
right.
Yeah, check it out.
When you mention controlling, because some because the way that the other person feels, I feel like this applies usually when it comes to relationships. You will always see like in a relationship, one that is the victim and the other one who's not. And this happens usually when a couple breaks up or a couple goes into a fight. So rather than having the mind, if you go into a relationship with this mindset, then your relationship is not going to last for too long, because you guys need to learn how to compromise and not be the victim, but not victimize either your partner. So this goes more into like a relationship shit, but
There's balance. Everything's a balance.
yeah. It's all about compromise, guys, when it comes to every type of relationships, not just like a romantic relationship, but also a friendship and like business relationships and stuff like that as well.
Family relations.
Family relationships as well, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all right. What do you got for me now? I know
All
you.
right, so we got a spicy secret topic. Kind of just popped out of nowhere yesterday. I was just scrolling through the YouTube feed, and this new content came out. It's not even new. It's kind of old, actually. It's a couple years old, but I never heard of it. So if you guys ever heard of ASMR, that's usually attributed to food, right? So
To what?
somebody puts a food. So somebody puts a microphone really close to the mouth, and they start eating food. And those sounds, they mimic, sexual things, sexual sounds and things like that. So now I found or discovered this thing called ASMR, boyfriend ASMR or girlfriend ASMR. So essentially, imagine you going to sleep or waking up in the morning and you have the quiet, sweet whispers of a boyfriend or girlfriend right next to you, obviously on your phone, kind of just telling you things that you would like to hear. Positive affirmations, positive comments, things like, you're beautiful, I can't believe I'm with you, you're amazing, your weight doesn't matter to me, etc. It's definitely some interesting content. I tried it. I couldn't stop laughing. Every time I would start talking, I just started laughing.
That's hilarious, actually. I haven't listened to it. And to be honest, when he sent me a video about a reaction of it or something like that, it wasn't actual
Video.
ASMR. Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And he had to explain to me because I didn't know this was a thing, nor with food or nor with like anything. That show was funny.
Yeah, man.
But
Well,
I'm gonna play it for you guys if you're not familiar with it, like me. This is gonna be my first time listening to it.
oh boy.
So I went to YouTube. I searched for boyfriend is ASMR, and I'm gonna play the first video that comes to it. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen so the audio gets recorded, and let's see what we got. That might be interesting. Like once again, I haven't heard this. So if you hear me laughing or just my face expressions,
Yeah, this is the one I watched yesterday.
wait, hold on. I think,
Again, you can skip like the first minute or two. It's just to get a quick sound bite.
all right. Hopefully the audio is good though.
Go ahead.
We'll play it another day. And you'll come to bed now?
What the?
Come on, babe. I need you. What do I want? I want love and affection and attention.
Yeah,
from
okay,
you.
that's it. That's enough.
And
That's
only
enough.
you.
That sounds so creepy though.
Yep. But yeah, that's basically it. And then there's a girlfriend version of that as well. So have fun with that.
I'm about to look it up. That's funny. Wait, so what's the objective with this? So it's only for like
Just to make people feel good, basically. Like you saw there, like I need you, I want you. I don't know.
I guess this is for like lonely people. Lonely girls specifically with this.
Yeah, no, whoever wants it. Lonely guys, it could also be lonely
Nice.
guys. You never know.
That's interesting. That's funny though. That's actually, bro. We can
There
make
is
money out of that. We can just.
endless content, bro. We can make money off of it. There's always something.
That's funny. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's jump into fitness because it's becoming a little bit long. What is the difference between pain and soreness?
All right, so this is gonna be a pretty quick topic. So, pain and soreness. It's sometimes it could be a little.
Sorry. Okay.
Topics, I got you. Did you start hearing the girlfriend one?
Huh?
Did you hear the girlfriend one?
No.
Okay.
Go.
Anyway, pain and soreness. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to kind of gauge what the difference is, but oftentimes it's not. The difference between pain and soreness is pretty simple. With pain, it's something that you just literally can't keep doing. So if you have a pinched nerve and you like try to like bend over, I don't know if you ever had a pinched nerve in your back before, but if you try to bend over, it almost feels impossible. Like you feel like an old person, and if you bend over, you're gonna break your back. That's pain. Soreness is that same movement. You can complete the action, but you know it's kind of uncomfortable just because your muscles are sore and they're fatigued. Again, soreness is usually your body trying to recover, right? So that's lactic acid that goes into your bloodstream. That kind of helps travel a bunch of. Well, I'm not actually 100% about what the purpose of lactic acid is, so I can look it up, or you can look it up. But yeah, lactic acid builds up in the muscle, and that's kind of what gives you that soreness and that just feeling of like, oh my god, my body's killing me. But again, the difference is that you can complete the action. If you can't complete the action without serious pain, then you're good. But if you have to suffer, like you're literally about to cry in order to do that thing, that's pain. And that's a problem. That's where you should definitely stop, lay down, take it easy. You don't have to kill yourself right now.
Yeah, I feel like you know the difference between them when you feel it. Pain is literally like pain, like you are on pain. Soreness is more like fun. Well, not fun. It's like a nice pain. Like you feel good about that type of thing. And
once you're used to it, at the beginning, it kind of feels the same.
Well, no. Well, yeah, I guess so. But hold on. But yeah. So I feel like when it comes to soreness, what you can do is stretch out. So stretch the muscle. If you have a roaming flail,
Foam roller.
well, what is it?
Foam roller.
Foam roller. There you go. I always forget the name. Foam roller. Just use that to stretch the muscle, and it hurts, but it's not like it's like a nice type of pain. Like feels
It's a deep
good.
massage.
Yeah, it's kind of like a massage, but
It's
when it
not
comes
kind of it. It's a deep massage. It's a deep
the
tissue.
deep massage, good. But when it comes to pain, like you literally feel like like shit. So for me, I had a nerve pinch on my hand once, and there was a like time that every time that I moved my thumb, it would like give me crazy pain, and it wasn't just my hand, but it was like the whole arm, and it was just so miserable. So I had to like massage it until it gets better.
Mhm.
But yeah, you will know the difference. And when it comes to pain, I feel like you definitely should, take it easy. And if it continues, go to a specialist, go to your doctor, see what's wrong, because you never know what it can be.
Yep. Usually it's a pinched nerve or something like that, but sometimes it's not. And those times that it's not, that's where it can be a big problem. So
Mhm.
if it persists more than like a day, then definitely that's something you want to check out. Like if it's the same type of pain for like a day or more, or it gets worse, definitely want to get that checked out for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, be careful with those. But when it comes to soreness, a good stretch that helps.
Yeah,
Uh,
stretching and foam rolling, massaging, whatever you can do.
so just go work out again. That helps out.
Well, it depends how sore you are, but yeah,
Yeah.
a soreness isn't necessarily the best indicator to tell you that you should or shouldn't work out, especially in the beginning.
True, true. All right, let's move on to finance, so that this doesn't become too long. When should you buy a car?
So that's well,
When are you
again,
planning to buy a car, Randy?
that's a good question. That's the thing. I don't have a need for it, and that kind of brings up the question: do I have to have a car? Do I need a car right now? So again, I live in New York, and one of the big things with transportation is the MTA. And if I can't get there with the MTA, I can usually just take an Uber or Lyft.
Mm-hmm.
So specifically in my area, a car isn't necessary because I have those modes of transportation available. Also, not to mention the fact that New York is really crowded. So sometimes finding parking can be just something like it's just like a task on its own. I remember one time it took like 40 minutes to find parking when I got home. Like at the end of the day, you're pretty tired. You don't want to be just roaming around in your car trying to find parking. So that's definitely something you want to take into account, your situation, like where you live, your proximity to things. But I mean, you have a car, so why do you have one?
I'm kind of spoiled on that aspect. I had a car since I was on junior year of my high school.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason why, um, the main reason was because I was on the soccer team, and my training started right after class. So for me to go from my high school to the main high school was like a hustle. I had to take the bus, blah blah blah. So I just got a car, half half with my sister, and yeah, ever since we own a car, and yeah, like one after another, it was easy for me to like transport here in Westchester. Now, I didn't necessarily need a car because there are public transportations, there is buses, and there is the metro if I want the Metro North if I want to go to like the city and stuff. But it is more convenient. I can agree. And once you get comfortable with that convenience, I feel like it's hard for you to detach. Like me, if you ask me how to get to point A to point B in a bus, I would be able to by using either Google Maps or like a type of map. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own because I don't know. Like for example, if you ask my mom how to get from point A to point B, she will be able to get it like without looking at a map. That's how crazy it is. I got so used to using that car, and it gets expensive. That too, insurance, maintenance, little things that happen here and there, tickets. If you got like any parking tickets, parking, it gets expensive. So that's why I said it's a liability. And there is ways to do it. For example, for me, I had to divide it half-half because I'm not the only one who uses the car. So my mom and my older sister helps me with insurance. So that cuts out my half. And when it comes to gas, depending on who uses the most, usually me, then we put the gas depend accordingly as well. So that way is a way for me to balance out having the car, but also not going broke. Okay? So there's ways that you can do it. And it's very convenient for all of us also because, when it comes to going to do laundry or grocery shopping, it's faster. But yeah. Now, when, like, let's say after this car, I decide to sell it, boom, boom. When should I buy a car? It would be when I have enough to not think about the bills coming after. And
So
like, sorry, before you go, also one thing also, before, like, if you're thinking to buy a house, if you want to buy a house in your late 20s, don't buy a car first. Buy the house and then the car, because
yeah,
the car is always, the bank always going to look at it as a liability rather than an asset, unless you
sir.
work on construction or like something that requires you to have a car. Then by all means get a car and just put it on that business.
Yep. So two things you mentioned there: all those expenses for the car, not to
Mhm.
mention the fact that like at any point it can be damaged, right? I was paying for the insurance of it, but that's something that you have to worry about as well. Because let's hypothetically say it gets damaged and now you can't use your car for a while.
Right.
So that's something you have to worry about. But yeah, unless you're in a situation where you kind of need it, like you need to travel a long distance to get to places. Again, you live in Westchester, that's kind of a commute. You can obviously take public transportation, but that's still going to take you a while, and it's actually pretty expensive taking the lure, right?
Well,
So
yeah, it gets expensive. Actually, I was doing the math. Like for me to go to City College takes me 1 hour. For you to from Brooklyn to go to City College takes you what, hour and a half?
about an hour and a half. If you
Yeah.
change.
So my commute is a little bit shorter. It is a little bit expensive because Metro North is about, like, depending on where I go, it goes $3 I think, 350 to about 350 to $6 and stuff like that, depending on the
Right.
days. But it is
So
expensive.
public transportation, you get a little bit more expensive. But yeah, once you get to that point where you're financially, like we talked about yesterday, financial independence. Once you're comfortable with whatever it is, the amount of money that you're making, and you have enough money aside, or you're making enough money so that you can put some aside to having something like that, like a car. Obviously, it's a liability again, like we discussed, and it's not an issue. By all means, go for it. But unless you like really need it or you can afford it like that, I wouldn't suggest getting a car because again, depending on your living situations, like I'm thinking of mine, I don't need a car. I can either Uber or public transport wherever I need to go, and I don't have to worry about all the different little things about having a car.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, I'm so used to having a car, so I feel like me not having a car would be a little bit tough.
That's
Because
a comfort thing, right? That's
it's
a
a
comfort
comfort
thing,
thing.
and just you have a car.
Mhm.
That builds a level of independence that you can kind of go wherever you want to go. You don't
Exactly.
have to wait on people or take forever to get to places.
Yeah, but it
No
gets a
problem.
little bit tedious, but like I said, money wise, also time wise, because you gotta go to do no daily routines, like routines for the car, yearly routines, and yeah, if you're willing to spend the time, if you're willing to, if you have the pockets mainly, then by all means, go ahead. But once again, if you're trying to buy a house here in the States, don't buy a car first. Maybe get a car, but get like a old car, and don't get a brand new because the bank is always gonna look at it as a liability and it's not gonna help you a lot with the credit. All right, cool, 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 cool. That's pretty much it on my aspect. Um, Anything else to add to it, or
No, I think that's like what covers it all up.
very good? All right, so let's go to some news of today. Well, some news updates.
No, you
Uh,
had it. News of today. I think that works well too.
cool. All right. So for me, in my aspect, technology was the biggest loser yesterday. It dropped a lot, almost at 2%. Energy surprisingly was up. And okay, another good news, it was that Leap, it rose 3% after the FDA approved a COVID neutralizing antibody. Now, if you don't know what Eli, whatever that Eli Lilly is, it's a antibody that can help prevent hospitalization for high risk COVID patients. So it's not the vaccine, but it's something that helps. It's some antibiotics, and they got approved, so their shares went up by 3%. Surprisingly, GM was up yesterday, a 5%, which was really good to see for the company because it's been struggling, and now it's planning to hire 3,000 people to speed up the EV production, which
Yes,
it's good for the economy. But
yes sir.
yeah, GM is usually established on Detroit, so the people over there, it's going to definitely be happy about that. In other news, Peloton and Beyonce, they announced a partnership to create workouts with the Queen's Bee, some music of her and blah blah blah. So their jump yesterday, crazy jump. Are you still holding the Peloton shares?
No, I jumped out early in the morning, so here's how my trade went. I held the position. What was it? Monday night or Monday market close. I had
Mm-hmm.
100 shares of Peloton, so it's roughly about $10,000.
Right.
Uh, so to me, my thought was it was going to jump on market open, and technically it did, but then it just nosedived because all the technology stocks kind of just nosedived.
Right.
And while Peloton does have a big interest in fitness and health, it is a big technology company as well. So dropped considerably. I think in the vein of like 5 or 6%, right, like right around 10 or 11 a.m. And then it kind of just reversed and it went up the same amount. It jumped as much as like 7%, just due to the overall recovery from technology, but also just due to the fact that Peloton has been selling off pretty consistently due to the news of the vaccine. So
Right.
people were looking to, sell. Like people weren't as optimistic about the company anymore because vaccines are out. People are going to start going back to gyms. They're not going to want to buy those bikes anymore. So, but again, that's just news. There was no concrete no concrete answer. That was just news, and it dropped the stock like at least 30-40% basically.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's crazy, John. Neo went down yesterday as well. Got a good.
Still holding, but that was a good deal for sure.
Yeah. No, on my end, I was trading gold. Well, I was betting against gold, which turned out on my favor, recuperated all my losses, and actually made profit. So,
Sweet,
yeah.
congrats.
And I already got out of that position already, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will see what other trades I will do this week. We're still halfway through the week, so we got time.
Oh, also just to quickly mention, so although technology is selling off, a lot of the other industries are coming back to life, especially the ones that got hammered again during that COVID period. So, in industries like entertainment, travel,
Hospitality.
yeah. So, airlines, cruise lines, hotels, anything relating to concerts,
Oh, finance as well.
finance, everything is coming back up. Again, just due to the news of the fact that we may have a vaccine coming out soon. There's nothing concrete yet.
So people think right now it's a good time to buy the dip and just wait for the wins in the long term once everything gets a little bit stable. But yeah. All right, guys. It was a pleasure having you today. I think this was a little bit long, but we had some fun at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right.
Maybe we should start doing that, like secret topics. We'll just throw it in whatever
if you
section.
find something that was funny.
Yeah.
I like
good.
I'm gonna create a YouTube channel and do that. More free time.
No.
Hi.
We can make this with sub part to this channel.
Oh, like
we can make it either a different channel or just like its own category within this channel.
I feel like we're gonna get more views doing that.
Yeah, probably.
All right, yo.
All
Talk
right,
to you
peace
later.
out.
Peace out.